and this is the way I've been ruling, so.
Well, it's just out of order.
Yeah, well, thank you. Wait.
By division on the rejection of I. Your Worship.
Against.
Councillor and I.
Against.
Councillor Brewer.
Against.
Councillor Casey.
Yes.
Councillor Cashmore.
Against.
Councillor Clow.
No idea.
Sorry, can we just,
No,
Mr Mayor, you said you wanted the report to come back and you've now gone and voted for that motion.
Are we accepting
You've
the
set-
officer's
you've set it off
recommendation
wrong.
too?
No, I'm voting against what the officers are recommending. Okay? So I'm voting against that, and I'm voting against it. I'm asking for
Can you start the vote again and tell us what we're voting for? Because everybody is confused.
Why don't we just put it to one side?
Councillor Brewer went the other way.
just tie-ho. So, look, if I had no other concerns in the table, two of you indicated you wanted to support this position.
Yes.
And so I'm giving you that opportunity. Councillor Penny, enough. You stood there and you were the first speaker for supporting this position of the officers.
No, I didn't. I supported the panel.
Oh, I guess my
So this vote is to
memory has
support the
been lost.
officers.
This
Okay.
vote is to support the officers'
Right.
proposal, and if you don't, then
Make
we
it
will
clear
end up
before
getting
every
some more
vote from now
information
on.
back.
Make it clear before every vote.
Okay,
from now
so,
on.
right,
Let's go
I have
again.
tried to make it clear for the last 2.5 days, Councillor Gaffney.
Not working.
Right, there you go. We're now up to Councillor
Oh, well, can
Clow.
Hang on.
No, can we re-vote on that?
Re-vote.
Due to
Need to re-vote.
confusion?
Okay, do it again.
So starting again.
Good try.
To reject recommendation I.
Yep.
Your Worship.
Against.
Councillor and I.
No.
Councillor Brewer.
Or
Councillor Casey.
No.
Councillor Cashmore.
No.
Councillor Clow.
No.
Councillor Cooper.
Against?
Councillor Darby.
Against.
Councillor Fletcher.
No.
Deputy Mayor Hulse.
No.
Councillor Crum. Councillor Lee.
No.
Councillor Penrose.
Against.
Councillor Quacks.
Against.
Councillor Stewart.
No.
Councillor Sir John Walker. Councillor Watson.
No.
Councillor Webster. Councillor Wood.
No.
That's
Right,
lost 18.
right. Now, just in terms of getting the extra information in,
one of my better votes.
allow us to put that up so that we can get the information in for further discussion on Monday.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
It'll look like that there. Yep.
So if I can just explain the wording of this recommendation, we need to come back with reasons for rejecting the panel's position and a possible alternative. So the way we've worded it is that you will consider rejecting if further advice from the staff, which we'll bring before this governing body meeting is finished, provides the appropriate reasons for rejection and a possible alternative. But we've noted that the guidance we've received from this table is that being the council's closing position at the independent hearings panel hearings. So we'll bring that back, but we do need to word it this way because we need reasons in your resolution.
So, Mr Mayor, can I ask a process question? So because we've rejected now what the staff wanted to do, if after we've had the discussion and the information back and discussed it again, that means we can't go back to accepting what the staff suggested?
Here we can.
Because we've all voted
Then
against
why
it.
not?
Here we can.
because we've all voted against it.
No, but
Not all of us.
the reason, I've actually voted to get more information, that's what I voted for.
No, we voted against the, that's what
You
I want
voted
to
against
make.
the staff's
Can somebody
recommendation.
make it clear to me? We've all voted against
Pragmatism.
what the staff recommended. So we can't then go back to that as a position after we've had the more information and more discussion.
So what you have voted against is the staff's position and alternative solution, and you have rejected the alternative solution.
So we can't go back
And
to
so,
that if we
so when we come back, you can still consider rejecting the recommendation of the panel, but with a different alternative solution provided, and the reasons.
So what we should have done was to put it to one side until we had that information.
Oh, yeah, look, thank you very much.
Staff
Councillor
just
Cassidy.
one
It's
free.
just this process I'm not happy with at all, because for exactly the sentiments
Yep.
expressed by Councillor Webster, if we reject the staff's position, the default position should be our closing submission to the independent hearings panel. So we're not looking for another compromise.
And-
We're looking to go back to our closing
Yeah,
position.
hang on. And
That's what we just
that's what we're
voted on.
going to, that's what we're going to consider.
That's not what that says. I'm sorry. And then there's discussion about a third or fourth compromise.
Yeah, that's what we're going to
That's not what it
consider
says.
when
So-
the document, when the information comes back.
No. We voted.
So, look, you
bring
can,
our closing
that's your
position.
position, but what I'm saying is when this information comes back, it will disclose to us all of that we can finally make a decision on.
No,
In
Mr.
terms
Mayor,
of
no,
our closing
I'm
position.
really not. This could be for lots of decisions today. We've got a staff position that's been rejected, and we have a closing position, which I believe that Councillor Darby and myself were putting up as the alternative.
Yeah, but
And
we don't
that's-
have a section 32 in behind it. The
No, but
reason
it's
why we
coming.
need more
It'll be
information.
coming. We're not expecting that today.
So Councillor,
Voting for a position today, and I thought we just voted for it.
Councillor Casey, the issue that we have is that the legislation requires the governing body to indicate when they are rejecting
I don't need
a
your voice.
recommendation of the panel, to provide at the same time the reasons for rejecting it.
That's the law.
And what this recommendation does is allow staff the time to write the right reasons for rejecting it, and also to bring back the alternative solution that you are seeking, which my understanding is the council's closing position on this matter at the independent hearings panel hearings, and we'll have that all transparent for you to look at when we bring it back, and that will enable you then to make a call on whether you want to reject the panel's recommendation on fences and replace it with this alternative solution.
With respect, we've just had that debate, and we have rejected the staff's position.
You rejected the staff's recommendation based on the fact you did not agree with the alternative solutions that the staff was putting
Well,
up.
that's why I said at the beginning, why are we having a compromise position brought before us and not the independent hearings panel position and the council's position?
But we need to see
Because if you reject that, then we've got this.
Hang on. This is, I think, being as about as simply explained as possible, and it's the way which we've been, by and large, dealing with the issues over the last 2.5 days. So I think we've had enough discussion on that now. Right, we need to put the recommendation there to enable that work to come back to us. So it's moved and seconded. Where is it?
Can we read it? Because I can't read it.
Yeah. So which one of you is going to second this to get the information back? Councillor Clow or Councillor Casey?
One of the same.
I'm happy to second it.
Yeah, good on you, Councillor Penny. That'll do. Councillor Penny Holtz will second.
opportunity, haven't they?
Okay, move that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against. Thank you,
No.
councillors. Right, now we've got,
It's okay, Kermit.
um,
Through in the end.
yeah, and it can go at the end of that. Right, so we've basically done all those, haven't we? So we're now up to 6.12. Right, move on to 6.12, which is page 80, and this is 064 subdivision rural. Just make sure you note it.
So in terms of this part of the agenda, this is where we bring, and I think it was page 35 of your agenda, which was topic hearing 011 Rural Environment, the RPS objectives and policies, together with this report, which is topic 064 subdivision rules. So they are interrelated, but you will need to look at both page 35, 36, 37 and 38, as well as these pages on topic 064. And both of these topics are about rural subdivision. The first report, 011, is about the RPS objectives and policies, and 064 is about the provisions in the plan for rural subdivision. If we can just reflect on some of the discussion yesterday when we were talking about the Council's Auckland Plan Development Strategy and how that has been translated into the unitary plan. While many people focus on urban growth, the other part of that development strategy was being fairly clear about what kind of subdivision could happen in our rural parts of Auckland. And the approach that the Auckland Plan Development Strategy takes and the way it's been implemented through the notified version of the unitary plan was to say that the past legacy of having proliferation of small subdivisions across our rural areas, which created individual lots and places that could not be serviced by infrastructure, either physical in terms of roading or wastewater or water, but also in terms of social infrastructure like parks and community facilities, needed to be something that was managed better going forward by this council. So the approach that was taken in the notified version of the unitary plan was that subdivision of our rural production zones, our mixed rural zone, our coastal rural zones was very limited and was restricted to very large parcels that could be created. The only exception was where you had an existing SEA on your property and you were given a kind of bonus opportunity by protecting that SEA, you could get a transfer of some lots into countryside living. And that was very purposely done because of the infrastructure issues we have of servicing sort of scattered rural lot subdivision. The main focus for smaller rural lots was in our countryside living zones, and throughout the region, different countryside living areas received different minimum lot sizes that they could subdivide down to, many around the 1 to 2 hectare size. The approach that the panel has recommended in their version moves away from that.
Against it.
We had in our notified version that any subdivision that did not meet the subdivision standards in those more rural zones was a prohibited activity. They've moved it to non-complying. The staff are recommending you accept that shift, but what we're recommending that you don't accept is their view that you can create additional lots in situ within those zones if you actually plant land with indigenous planting. So you're not protecting an SEA, you're taking a piece of land that could be bare land and saying, I will plant this out with native plants and trees, and by doing that you get additional lots. Now that practice has been used in the past in the 2 legacy rural councils of Rodney and Franklin, and has not been particularly successful, and that because they're not SEAs, it's hard to actually get a long-term commitment of the landowner to maintaining and ensuring those areas actually do grow into bush that is worthy of a SEA control. So the staff are recommending that you reject 2 aspects. One is about the objectives and policies that have been put into the RPS but also into the rural zones, which enabled sporadic and scattered rural subdivision. We do believe that if you do have transferable rights through protecting SEAs, those sites should be transferred into the countryside living area, not retained in situ. And we are also recommending you reject the ability to create additional lots, and it was up to 12 new lots by planting 5 hectares of plants, because it puts a huge onus on staff to monitor and actually ensure that that turns into something worthy of protection. And ecologists are worried that the criteria that are being used by the panel to say this is a place where an SEA could be in the future misunderstands the criteria that they have used to identify existing SEAs.